Hey, what is up everybody? Blaze for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, I'm gonna give you guys my final impression of this character being at least Crow. And I have to say, after playing him for a few days, I do think that he's actually pretty okay. Now, of course, he could be better, and we're gonna get into that in a second here. But if you guys are interested in the video, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video as always, and hit that like button as always. So let's get straight into it. So I'm gonna be doing SOS in the background, mainly just because this is the best place that he'll shine due to the, of course, amp ups and buffs that they end up giving him to make him look good. But to say the least, Crow himself is okay, right? And I'm gonna put it as okay mainly just because I don't find him terrible, but he definitely is a character that does need a couple buffs here. After playing this character, without a doubt, I definitely can see outside of at least this SOS, he is one of the few characters I can say that is very lackluster on his kit, and I feel like he needs a little bit more. So to describe what I mean about this, right? Of course, we know Crow is a sub DPS, all right? He's mainly meant to help out your main DPS. He's not meant to really do anything other than that. And that goes with, of course, what's it called? Summer Closer. It goes with our freaking, geez, I almost forgot, our Joker. And it actually just goes with any other team as well, really. You don't have to be limited to just Curse and Bless. You can use other teams, especially seeing that for the Curse side of things here, or at least part of his kit, Crow's kit itself here, does only require him to use mainly his skill 2 and skill 3, and this can be applied for any other AoE user. So it kind of lets you, I guess, be a little bit freer with some of your teams, but his main ordeal is when you want to be with a Curse team or a Blessed team. Let's just be real about this. In this category of things, AKECHI's lacking, right? He's lacking a lot, and it's sad to say it because really, I would like to say this character is doing really well. Like, of course, I love his mask buff that he ends up having. This right here actually does come in clutch, especially for himself, to allow him to deal some damage, because you are going to be using his, of course, his damaging skills to get those extra bits. But outside of SOS here, his damage is very lacking. Like, it doesn't matter if you have him built pretty decent, it doesn't matter on any of that stuff. His damage is very lackluster, and it could be way better. So for example, since we're using the Curse team, we would use his skill 2 here, right? Well, his skill 2 does help our DPS see that no matter what, we're taking down the defense of the enemy, right? But as you can see, that did 65k. That was on 4 different targets and did 65k. Outside of this, that would deal absolutely nothing. It would deal nothing. And for sub DPS, yes, I do understand they do mainly help out their main DPS counterparts. I do get that. Though, for this occasion, he does absolutely nothing. Even if you want to argue that point, 20k outside of here, or like 40k outside of SOS, is practically unacceptable. It's one of the few things that I feel like with Crow, they really missed the mark on. Even when being a sub DPS type person, it's just way too low to kind of justify for this character to actually be the way it is. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with me on this aspect, seeing that really whatever you end up talking, or at least whatever you end up trying to do here, it's just not enough. It's just not enough for this character, and I feel like they could easily do better. But of course, that's mainly my point on this when it does come down to this. Now, the other side that he really does have a decent grip on is his almighty side, right? He does a lot of almighty damage, which is always nice to see. It's always good to always have here, and more or less you would technically like this no matter how you want to look at it, right? No matter how you dice it. Even for the almighty damage side of things, with his arrows and chaos that we end up getting, of course, and it scales based on these things that he does have. With this in mind, the character himself still doesn't strike me as crazy, right? Because of course, all this almighty damage that we just did there is mainly due to the SOS side of things. If we take him up out of this situation, he's dealing a drastically, just a huge less amount of damage here when it does come down to this. Now, granted, his passive being Demise actually does help out that almighty damage, because every time we do get that defense down, which luckily we are doing, we're getting an increased damage dealt, which is really, really nice to actually have. But even in that stance of things, it's not the best, if you guys get what I'm saying, right? It could be better. And I do feel like with Akechi himself, we need to have, let's think of the wording here. We need to have not only just a buff for this character, but I feel like a little bit of a kit rework, because his kit is fairly interesting. It doesn't seem like it fits for the character itself. And I do feel like that needs to be kind of looked at, because in general for his whole kit, it just doesn't seem very useful, if you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of things that I feel like we could have a little bit more clarity on, especially for the almighty side of things. And until we get more things that really support this almighty side or almighty damage of things, I don't think we're really gonna see too much of a difference, at least for this character, to say the least here. But then of course, there are a few things that I do want to go over as well. Regarding his A0 and everything like that, right? The A0 is pretty darn good, but I would like to say that I do think they do need to extend, at least when it comes down to what's it called, gaining the clarities, the chaoses and stuff like that. I do feel like they need to extend this, and it somehow needs to be paired with some of his damage that he just is able to provide. For example, the damage boost that we end up getting for using this here by taking down their defense. I feel like they need to kind of extend this, or at least elevate it a little bit more to make it a little bit more useful. The only time where I feel like we get that is slowly gearing to like maybe his A1, but practically I don't feel like this character really gains enough to make him actually useful around that time, right? Okay, you're usually not going to be going for A0 with this character. I feel like if you're going for anything, it's either A1 or A6, and even then it's still very lacking. A character like this, especially as hyped as they are, as cool as a lot of us were expecting them to be, has left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, and I would definitely say has done that for me with my final impression. So we're gonna actually end up wrapping it up here, because there's just a few things that I really want to go over for this character. To say the least, he does have his uses, right? He has his uses. He's pretty darn decent, but when it does come down to like more of the nitty gritty stuff with his stats, his actual move sets, he misses the mark heavily, which I don't really like that, especially for the character that, you know, a lot of us was kind of expecting to be decent. So I guess it makes sense because, hey, anniversary right around the corner. So when you think of it that way and you have that at least in your mindset, I guess you shouldn't expect much from it. It's just kind of saddening to at least see that, even with the actual ult here. For example, you deal the ultimate, sub DPS by the way, 87k. So outside of this, that would actually be even lower. So do keep that in mind. So it's hard to kind of justify the character, bro. It's kind of hard to justify him. I feel like with this character, it's definitely an easy skip for those of you who are still wondering, should you skip it, should you not? But this character is gonna definitely get a buff, and I hope a lot of people do vouch for this character to get a buff, because I just don't feel it. I don't feel it. He just doesn't feel right. He doesn't feel like he's a good character for the game itself. And if I wanted to put him on a tier list, maybe like right now, let's see, he probably is at least a good A. He's a good A, because he's just mid at best. I don't really see him being a really good crazy character. It's not bad, but he definitely is a letdown. So until next time, everybody, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please do smash that like button with your forehead. Consider subscribing if you are new. But until next time, everybody, peace. Uh oh, wait a minute. There we go. Now peace.